Daigaho, this is Seacart, and today I'll be doing another Perl video. And for this video in particular, we will be looking at making a cash register program. And I think this will be a really clear way to show you some applications of the data type I showed in the previous video. I'll also be showing you some conditional um, statements such as if and else. And I will also show you guys how to do iterative tasks like looping. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to go is ls. So you guys know I don't have the current script made. So how do we do that? Yep, you guessed it. I am going to touch. And it's going to be, I'm going to call this cache register.pl. And for this video, I'll be using Vim and not Sublime Text. It's just another editor. You can easily get this on your terminal. If you don't have it, it's literally just sudo apt-get download vim or whatever command is used for your apt-get install. So anyway, opening it up, here's my vim, and I have line numbers on the left along with a nice little Molokai theme, which is a pun on Monokai, for those of you who know your color schemes. And we'll start off our Perl script like all our other ones with a shebang line, a use warnings, and use strict. These will prevent us from making dummy mistakes, and the shebang line will tell the interpreter what to use when we give it executable permissions. So the first thing I'm going to do is think about the cache register. So here I'm just going to put some quotes. So cache register, typically you see it take inputs of item, quantity, and also the price. And you basically keep doing that until you get a receipt, which has pretty much your total and a nice message. So that's what I'm going to set out to do. The other thing I'll be introducing in this video is subroutines, which will pretty much make your code very modular and also very, very easy to work with, because having modularity means that in the future, if you come back to the script, you can at least know like, oh, this part of my code handles all this functional stuff. So I can just change this part of the code without affecting everything else. And another bonus to doing subroutines is, let's say you need to do the same thing like n number of times. Well, instead of writing like n number of statements to do the same thing over and over, you can just send everything to the subroutine, and the subroutine will return to you your intended effect. And we will look into that shortly. So I'm just going to start thinking. Right. So what do I need? I need to first obviously scan the item or get the input of the item. And then that should give me both the information about the item, so the name, the price, the quantity, and I should also have something that will keep a running count of my total. So those are the main components I should keep in mind. And for my first task, I'm thinking I can handle all the user input via a subroutine. That way, I can just keep entering information again and again and again and again until I tell the machine or the program I am done and I don't need to do this anymore. And yeah, that'll be the first thing I'm going to do. So the first thing you need to do for your subroutine is obviously type sub and then give it a name, space and give it a name, sorry. So I think I will call this checkout. I don't know. Checkout makes the most sense to me because I'm checking out my items, my groceries. And you also need curly braces because for a subroutine, it has to have some sort of scope. So these curly braces here in orange, everything in between them and indented will be only accessible to stuff that have been subroutined with checkout. So the first thing I need to do is obviously figure out what do I need. I need my inputs. So let's make my first input product, which is a scalar, mind you, and I'm gonna have it take in user input. To do that, you need the diamond operator, signified by these two arrows, and you need std in, which will basically say standard input, or take commands from the user in this case. The next part is you need the chomp, because when you do a standard input, it always has a new line built into it. I don't know why, because our print statement does not, but our standard in does. It's just some Perl convention, I guess, but um, yeah, you just have to chomp it. Chomp will literally strip off the new line character for you, and it's always good to chomp. I mean, even if it didn't have a new line character, chomping it will do nothing, so it's more of a precaution and also just good practice. So let's see, I entered my product, and it chomps it. Now I have the name of my product. Cool. The next thing I need to do is I need to figure out the price. And I'm going to do the same thing. And then finally I need to know how many. So yeah, I guess I'll call this quantity. I'm just going to abbreviate it. Too lazy to spell. And one more chomp. So these will take in my user inputs and store them in each of these scalars, but my user obviously right now won't know because it'll just leave a blank line if I leave it like this. So what I actually need to do is I need to print something. So I'm going to print, please enter your item. And I'm actually going to not embed a new line character here. Reason why is I want the user to enter the information literally just to the right of this colon. And when it hits enter, it'll go to the next line for me anyway. So that's my reasoning for not using a new line character. It's just more aesthetically pleasing to me. Finally, I need to do one for the price. Not how many, sorry. How much is the item? And then I need one more. Print how many items. And we are all set. So this subroutine will simply get the product, the price, and the quantity, but it won't do anything in terms of calculating our total, which is important. So what do I need to do that? Well, I need some variable to keep count of my price. And I can think of two ways to do this. The first way I would do this is to create an array. That way I can store each product in the array and also have a second array that will hold the price of said item. And because I'm entering everything in a linear fashion, that just means that I am able to essentially append a one-to-one mapping between these two different arrays. So that when I do my nice little printout, I can just say, oh, this and this match up, this and this match up, this and this match up. So I'm just printing the arrays based on an index. Of course, this may all sound like gobbledygook to you guys right now, which is completely fine. I don't assume you guys know this, or it could be just a little bit too abstract. I don't know. But that's just one way to do it. The other way to do this would be to have a um, variable to just store the total, which is fine. But again, it's not perfect. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I will keep a array. So just above this, I'm going to make two arrays. my array products, which is just an empty array for now, and my array price, which is also going to be empty for now. These arrays will eventually hold these scalar values, which will then be mapped to my output when I actually start doing the output. But yeah, that's just an idea for now. Like, you'll see me changing constantly. It's mostly due to the fact that I just want to essentially create a running draft, a rough draft. Not a running draft. What's a running draft? So the other thing I realize is I actually need checkout to keep running until I say it's done. So to do that, I need to have something that can go on infinitely until I tell it done, and then it just completely breaks out of this iteration. So the first kind of loop I'm going to teach you guys is the while loop. So while, well, before I do the while, I also need one more variable. My $done equals no. This will pretty much make it so my loop will keep going until this says yes. So while $done not equals, or actually not equals no. Keep going. Just keep going, man. So this while loop will keep going till I tell it I'm done. Just editing a few things right now, guys. Boom. So the syntax to a while loop is literally the word while, parentheses, and inside the parentheses some condition. And as long as this condition is true, it will keep going. It will keep executing whatever is caught between these curly braces. And of course you have to indent. So while done says no, keep doing this. Just literally keep doing it. And how do you know if you're done? Well, I'm actually going to do one more thing down here, which is print, are you done? And it's going to be yes or no. And let's see, let's do $done equals standard input. $done, well, chomp, $done. This will kill the new line so it doesn't interfere in case there is any interference. I don't think there is, but again, I'm just paranoid. So this will break you out of the loop if it says yes. Oh, and the other thing is I should do UC here. UC is a command for scalars that uppercases any string the scalar may hold. So great. Now I don't have to worry about accidentally hitting like yes or no with a lowercase. It'll just automatically take care of that for me. And in case some of you are wondering, yes, it is possible that the user could screw himself over by typing something other than Y or N. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to assume that the user is smart. Which is, I know, it's quite a big assumption, but we're going to do it. I believe in you guys. So, let's see. While not done, you enter your three things. That's great. But I have nothing to hold my totals. Yeah, I have nothing at all. Well, nothing until I actually, yeah, I'm gonna make another subroutine soon. I'm gonna have a subroutine that will take in my price and my quantity and then do a quick head count. But before that, I need to actually populate my two arrays on lines 10 and 11. To do that, I actually have to call another function called push. Push is an array function, so it will only work in an array. I think it might also work on a hash, but don't quote me on that. So you need to push the dollar product to the array products. So push to the array at product and dollar product. Make sure there's a comma. This will, if you think of an array as like a shopping list with a line, push will literally put the item that you're telling it to append to your array at the back. And because right now there's no first item in the list, like all these arrays are empty. That means the first time I enter this, it will look like it just populated either in the front, back, middle, whatever. It has no position. But when you enter the second item and so forth, you'll see that each subsequent item is actually behind the previous one. So that's push. There's also pop, which deletes at the back. And then there's shift, which handles the front by deleting the front item, and unshift, which adds to the front. But again, you guys don't really have to know that. I just use push and pop, and it works. So just like our products, I'm gonna push products. I'm gonna push prices, dollar price. So now I have my arrays being populated by price and product. And then I'm also gonna need, do I need quantity? Yeah, because I'm thinking in my subroutine when I calculate this, I'd like to just give it 3 arrays and then loop through the indices of each array. That way I can just say like at position 1, the product is apples, price is 75 cents, number 2 apples, and then it'll do all the calculation for me without me thinking. Yeah, I try to code in such a way that I don't have to think too hard. I don't know. Could be a bad habit, could be a great habit. I honestly am indifferent. So I'll make one last array, quantity. And down here, just like the other guys, I'm going to push. Push at quantity, quantity, dollar, quantity. So these arrays get populated, great. And then it's going to keep doing this until I'm done. That way I don't have to calculate it again and again and again. If you kept it inside the while loop, what will actually happen is you will essentially just keep printing out your total, and the total will change every time because you're entering new items, which is actually a bad thing. So that's why you don't want to do it in the while loop. It'll just keep printing the total when you only need it to print it. When you only need to print the total one time, once. Wow, my English is suckish today. Um, right. So outside the while loop, I am gonna make another call. So this subroutine will call another subroutine. But I think just to clear it up for you guys, I'm gonna not do that just yet. I'm gonna go outside the loop and also outside the subroutine checkout and make another subroutine. This one is gonna call calculate bill, and it's gonna actually take inputs. Um, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. For checkout, I'm actually not going to take any inputs because all my inputs are generated on the fly. So the subroutine will actually generate data for me based on what I enter on line 16 and down. and I will then feed all this information once the three arrays are made. I will feed all three arrays into this function, which will then immediately take all those arrays and calculate the total using some basic high school math. So how do you take input and how do you unpack the input? Well, you guys are probably going to hate this as much as I did when I first figured it out, but you need to make variables to hold your inputs. And in particular, in Perl, when you pass it arrays, if you pass it one array, it's completely okay. It doesn't care. But if you pass it two or three or four or infinite number of arrays, then it's a problem. Why? Because if you try to pass it two arrays directly, it will take all the arrays and mash them together into one array, which is absolutely terrible because now you can't get any positional information. Your data is like jumbled into that little one-dimensional array that was just like it. Just imagine like you're trying to build a card tower, and all of a sudden like a torpedo hit your house and blew away your house of cards. And then you're like, oh, darn it, I can't even build another house anymore because A, my cards are all over the place, my house is a mess, and stuff is on fire. Yeah, god awful stuff. So, how do we fix this? Well, in Perl, they have something called object or data references. So, we actually need to make a reference to the array, which means we're basically telling the subroutine that, okay, I want to give you the address to find the data I want you to play with. So the reference points directly to the original data. So if I pass a reference to like at quantity, then I am accessing at quantity directly. It's a little abstract, I know, but it's literally just how it is. Like you guys will have to just play with it until it becomes a little bit more natural. I promise you, it gets less confusing the more you do this. It's or for now, like just to save yourself a headache about thinking about it, just think of it as this. You have a package and you need to figure out where it came from. So what do? You look at the package and at the top of the package there is an address, which is a reference to the place of origin. And what we're trying to do right now is basically pass the package from one subroutine to the next without meshing up the data. That is essentially the goal. And if you understand that, great. If you don't and want more clarity, just comment below. Like honestly, this is for you guys. So anyway, unpacking stuff because I'm doing three references. For Perl, references will always, always, always be scalars. So the other thing you have to know is there's something called list context and scalar context. And because we're dealing with unpacking, usually we unpack from at underscore, which is the arguments variable. It's a special variable that holds any inputs you feed the subroutine. And it can have n number of possible data types stored in it. So it's an array of inputs. But I need to take each of my inputs, which are scalar functions, not functions, scalar data types, and unpack them to this function, calculate bill. So to do that, I have to switch to list context indicated by these orange curly braces. And inside, because I know I'm doing three arrays or three references to arrays, I need three variables to hold it. So I am literally just going to say $P for product, I guess, $D for the price, because I assume it's in USD, and $Q for the reference to quantity. And because I hold all of these in a list context, it means there's a one-to-one map. So the first argument, which will be the product, goes to the product. The next one, which is the price, goes to the price. And then the next one, which is the quantity, goes to the quantity. So the references get matched exactly to the variables I want. The next thing I'm going to do is when you get a package, what do? Well, I usually open it like with a razor blade or some sharp utility. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to unpackage or dereference the reference. So to do that, I am going to make another piece of information, data type, sorry. And I'm going to call this at products um, bought. Well, actually, I'm not going to write this in snake case. I'm just going to keep everything in camel case. Camel case, obviously, you stick the two words together. The second word gets a bigger, the first letter of the second word is capitalized, and every subsequent word after. So if it was a third one, the first letter of the third is also capitalized. Snake case is when you keep an underscore in between and keep everything lowercase. That's just FYI. But anyway, I'm going to take my products, which is in $P, and unreference it. So to dereference it, you need to do the original sigil, which is an array, so at, and then the variable that holds the reference, so $P. This will transform the $P into an array, and that array is copied. All the information in that array is literally copied over to products bought. So products bought is the exact same thing as my array up here at product on line 19, but it's just a copy. It's a local copy. So I can literally do whatever I want with it, and it will not affect my original array, which is up there. Which is great because you don't want to be messing with it while you're looping and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Finally, I'm going to do the same thing for price. So price product equals at $D. And one more time, at quantity product at $Q. This will unpack everything. And now I need to think, great, I have my three arrays, and I know every single part of the array is a one-to-one. So the first index all line up, the second index all lines up, third index all lines up. Great. And also while we're on the subject, all arrays for most programming languages, we start the count from 0, not 1. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you guys have a hard time remembering that, just remember you count the number of items in the array, and then you just take one off, and that'll pretty much give you your index. So let's see. I said I wanted to loop through the index. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. But to do that, I also need to know how long my index is. So to get an index value, I'm going to create another scalar called length of array. And to get the length of an array, there's two ways you can do this. The first way, because I know all the arrays are the same length, sorry, I can just do this. By keeping this in scalar context, this is scalar context because I don't have these parentheses to indicate that I am trying to take scalar variables and pass like only a certain piece of the array to them. Instead, I'm just saying I want $length of array equal to a single value from the array. But if the array is greater than 1 in terms of value, or even just an array in general, it will literally just give you the length, or it'll give you a running count of how many items are in the array, which is great because this is exactly what we want. Finally, we're going to loop. So I'm not going to do a while loop here because I actually know roughly where it should end. So it should end when I finish calculating the bill on the last item of the list, and then return to me a total. So because I also mentioned total, I also need to make a variable called total. And I also forgot the my word there. Never ever forget the my. The my will kill you. So my dollar total is equal to 0 for now because I want it to increment over time, or over iterations in this case. So in Perl, to do a for loop which will iterate n number of times, where n is something you specify, the syntax is actually quite straightforward. You type for space, and then you'll need a pair of parentheses for your condition. But in your condition, you actually have to make a variable as well. Um, so typically people do my $I. You can choose any variable, it really doesn't matter. I just use I because it's conventional, and most computer programmers are used to $I or I in general. So yeah, so you have $I. You also have to tell it a condition. Oh, I has to be 0. That's very, very important. And then I do $I um, less than $length of array. So this will say, as long as my $I variable is less than the length of the array, keep doing this. And then I'm going to say $I double plus. What that says is, after you run through the loop the first time, give $I a +1. So the next time I run this, so one iteration, I is 0. The start of the next iteration, I is now 1. And it'll keep going up by 1 until this condition is broken. So if I have a list of 2 items, my array length is 2, which means the first iteration at 0, it goes. Next iteration is 1, it goes. Next iteration, it's 2. Oops, it's not less than anymore, so it ends. And that's exactly what we want. We want it to end. Finally, you need curly braces to basically tell it what to do inside the loop. So what do I want you to do in the loop, mister? Well, I need to figure out I need to figure out the formula. That's what I need. So I actually need another variable. My $current price. This will keep a running count for me. So my current, no, I already made it. $current price is equal. So how do you calculate the bill, guys? Well, if you remember from good old grade school, we use our multiplication and addition to do all this. So I have an array of products, price, and quantity. Well, products doesn't mean anything to me here. I actually care more about the price and the quantity. So price and quantity, great. I have a one-to-one mapping of price and quantity. That's also great. So, just thinking out loud here, guys. The total would be given by the sum of all the products, the price of the products, times the quantity of each product. So for current price, I'm simply going to do dollar price product in location I times dollar quantity product I. So what this will do is it will take whatever the product price is at this index and multiply it by the number of products purchased at that same index. And because both arrays are the same length, and I know that when I enter the information in, everything has to line up, so the math will always be correct. Barring any silly mistakes on my part, of course. Anyway, after you do the $current price, the next thing you'll want to do is append it to total. So total is going to be plus equals dollar current price. That's simple. And then I'm going to simply do the following. I'm going to do dollar current price equals 0. So this way I can reset this score. Well, I actually don't even have to do that because it's always just going to keep changing and it won't increment. So if I was cautious or if I was paranoid, I can throw this line in, but I don't need it because it already resets itself up here. Good catch by myself. I am on a roll today, guys. So what's next? Well, I have running total, great. I have current price, calculating, great. So I'm happy with that. And I can always come back to this later if I have to change it. So now it will calculate my price. And when it's done, I just want you to return the return total. And I also need $1. So my running total will be calculated and then returned to me at the end of that for loop. Great. This is all I need for the subroutine. Literally all I need. One last thing. So check out, we have to call this calculate bill subroutine. So calculate bill. You simply type the subroutine in and you do parentheses. And then inside the parentheses, you have to pass it the arguments. And I mentioned before, I need to pass it the reference to the arrays. So to reference an array, you just do a backslash and then the array variable. So at product at prices and finally at quantity. Yeah, and that will return the total, but I actually want to store that. So my dollar total, which is a different total from the one in the other subroutine. This total is only kept locally inside the subroutine checkout, while this total is only kept in the calculate bill. So that's completely a-okay. I pass it the references, it returns to me my value. So great. Ew, that was a little glitchy there. So this is done. This is on the way. So what else do we need? We need to print. We need to print. Um, we just need to print. That's literally it. So one thing I actually just recalled is we actually don't need, um, we don't really need this, but I mean the at product, unless we want a nice output. Yeah, let's just do it. Why not? Since we like going 110% of the way there. So I'll just make a quick little edit. Okay, another subroutine. And this subroutine will print receipt. As to what it'll take my it'll take all three of my arrays once again and literally just print item, 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 and also it will print the total. Yes, it will print the total. So let's see. I'll actually not run this array in particular in here. Instead, yeah, it's going to get complicated if I do it with this subroutine because I have to pass essentially these three arrays, which are generated locally in the checkout, to the print receipt subroutine, which will then pass those arrays again into calculate bill, which is already a big headache. So I'm actually not going to do a separate subroutine to print. I'm just going to make it stupidly easy by making it a piece of the checkout. So let's do this. We need to loop it one more time. So this time, actually, I'm going to loop through all three um, arrays and then print each of the items in the same line with equal spacing. And then after I finish looping through everything, I'll print the total in a message. Yes, that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to use a new one like $J because J and I are common. You can use I again. It honestly doesn't matter. Don't forget the my. The my is very important. But not there. No, sir. It has to be here. And then semicolon $J less than, well, I need a length. So let me just make a variable to hold the length again. My dollar array length equals, oh, so the other way to get the length of an array is just type the word scalar and then space and then any array of your choice. I'm just going to use qty because it's the shortest, but they're all the same length, so don't worry about it. So $J has to be less than $array length and then $J double plus followed by my curly brace combo. So great. All I need to do at this point is literally say print at no dollar product. Yeah, dollar product with J, not I almost said I. Followed by a tab, which is \t dollar prices J \t one last time dollar qty J. Also, I'm going to get rid of this, put some space here so it's a little neater. So essentially I have a line being printed where it's just the product, aka the name, the price, and then quantity. And actually for the price, I would actually like it to have a dollar sign. So I'm actually going to do a $, which will print the dollar symbol for me, and then it'll print prices. Yes. And semicolon. Now handle that line. And I'm also going to print a new line character. I could have introduced it up here, but I mean, I like keeping a new line character separate if I'm doing several things with arrays, so I can just focus on one thing. That's just my preference. So it'll print product, price, number, and then a new line. So on my next line, I'll print the next three items of the array and another new line. It'll just keep going until I'm done. And once it terminates, I'll need it to print a message. Print your total is, and don't forget, I want my dollar, so $, dollar total. Have a nice day. And that will run, this will run when it finishes printing everything for me. It will then end with saying, your total is blah. So I think that should be it, guys. I know it was a little bit lengthy and I was kind of like being an airhead for a little bit, but hopefully it, it gives you an idea of the programming mindset, or at least how I think about it. So the first thing I need to do is do check out with nothing in it because it takes no arguments. Yeah, it takes no arguments because I didn't unpack anything up here. And then it should run. So let's test that out. ls. I'm not going to do chomod just because I'm already running something. And I have problems. App product, huh? Okay. Vim cache. Lines 19 and up. Okay, let's see. Lines 19. Push app pro. Oh! Wow, I'm being so silly. It's products. Prices. Prices. At least quantity didn't change. Products, prices. That should be it, guys. $49 now. Products bought requires an explicit. 49. Oh. My. My. See what I mean when I said the my will forever screw you? This is exactly the mistake I should not be making. J is in a numeric in array element. Lines 54 as well, huh? Okay. Oh, this is actually supposed to be product spot. And then $J. $J works. I wonder if it's because I have at. I should have at, maybe. That's the thing I don't like about Perl, it's the sigils. Oh, that's stupid. Okay. Sorry guys. Just one of those days. You need the dollar. Come on, stop. Dollar prices, $J. $J. That's what you needed. That's why it wouldn't work for me. Oh, come on. I'm doing the same thing with I. Come on, I just want to do something simple. $J, $I. Clear it, and please work. Yes. Apples, 0.25. And I want 4. No. I want oranges. They're a penny. And I want 100 oranges. Yes. And now I'm done. So I printed everything more or less correctly. Oranges, I don't know why it kind of just went off on its own, like magically. I think it's because of the spacing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear everything first, go back and edit my output, and do... Oh, that's the other thing I forgot. I'm forgetting a lot today, guys. So sorry for all these little doohickeys, but it's just how it is. So I'm actually gonna put all these back together as one mega meshed up line, and hopefully that cleans out the output. Let's see, oranges, 0.01, 100 of them, no. I want apples, 0.25, and I want 4, yes. Are you done? This time they're actually lined up, so yeah. I guess it was the singular spacing that got kind of crazy. But as you can see, it prints out the total just fine. And if you guys wanted to, you guys can get the what is it called? The formatting correctly. So like if you wanted 2 decimal places, um, that's actually relatively simple, assuming I don't screw this up. But I don't really like Perl. I'm just doing this video more as a tutorial. Great way to not only teach others, but also help myself figure out what I need to clear up in my head. But yeah, so let's see, where can I do this? Yes, I can do it here. So I can do something like dollar price is equal to printf, I think it's called. Printf to do the rounding, I think. Um, just 1 second, guys. The power of Google. It's a great tool. Yeah. So I was actually missing. It's sprintf, which will give you a formatting. So what I want the formatting to be like is basically this. This will say whatever you got. So in this case, dollar price. I want you to only give me to 2 floating points or 2 decimal places. And that will also be the same down here. So I need to change my total just slightly. Um, yeah, so total, I'm just going to change it here. It's more or less the same. Dollar total is equal to sprintf, in double quotes, mind you, dot, well, not dot, yeah, dot 3 to f. I swear, I'm being an airhead today. So that'll give me 2 decimal places. Let's double check that. Let's say I have apples, and they're 25 cents each, and I have 5. Yes, I'm done. So yeah, it does exactly what we want. It will print out to 2 decimal places, and it will round all other decimals to the nearest 2 decimal places. So that's great. And that's our cash register program, guys. It was a little bit lengthy and stuff kind of got hazy, but hopefully you kind of saw my thought process as we were working through this. I mean, it started out with a simple comment, like what do I need? These two. Make a subroutine. What's in the subroutine? I'm doing all this stuff. So I immediately thought, okay, I need a data type to hold all my products, all my prices, all my quantities, and then I need a variable to just tell the loop when to end. And then here, condition, I kept it uppercase so I didn't have to worry about typing problems, assuming they know where the N and the Y buttons are on the keyboard. And then just handle each piece by itself. And I kept the formatting to chunks so that I can come back later in a few days or even a year or two later and know exactly what I did. So each of the variables get populated on their own, then they all get pushed to their own arrays. And when it's done, it will then send my total to another subroutine, which will calculate my arrays and my not calculate my arrays, calculate my bill by unpacking the arrays and then looping through each index of the array and fetching a current price that will get appended to a total. So total is just my running count. And then when it returns the total, that value is now stored on line 38. And then just using the same techniques, we go 39, get the length of the array, it doesn't matter which one, and loop through until you're done printing out the product, the price, the quantity. And also new line character because it's just good. It's good formatting. And then if you wanted 2 decimal places, you need to do sprintf, which is a function to print a string with float or just formatting. So that's what I did. And then I just print my total once, which is what you would expect in a cash register, and say, have a nice day, and then terminate. So I thank you guys for your time, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.